From NBC North Dakota News, this is the Decision 2014 debate for the U.S. House. An exchange of ideas between candidates Kevin Cramer, George Sinner, and Jack Seaman.
Thanks for joining us this evening. We're coming to you live from Bismarck with the three candidates fighting for our state's lone U.S. House seat. I'm Jessica Roos.
And I'm Dick Height. Joining us in the studio tonight is Democratic candidate Senator George Sinner, Libertarian candidate Jack Seaman, and Republican candidate Representative Kevin Cramer.
The purpose of our debate is to allow you, the viewer and voter, the chance to get to know these candidates outside of 10-second sound bites and 30-second political ads. Each candidate will get a minute and a half of opening and closing statements. We've already determined the order by drawing of straws.
And we have also compiled a list of questions we will be asking the candidates to answer. And they came from you via Facebook, email, and the web. They will have a minute and a half to answer each question, and each candidate will also get a 45-second rebuttal.
If you're watching us online at KFYRTV.com, you can also live tweet during the debate using hashtag #NDHouseDebate. And starting us off tonight with their opening statement is Jack Seaman. You have 90 seconds.
Well, good evening, everyone. And thanks, everyone, for being here. And thanks for hosting this debate. George, Kevin, good to see you again. I think we'll have a couple of more here before we're all said and done. And thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate it. You're giving us your gift of time. And we thank you for tuning in and paying attention because you have a big decision to make come November 4th. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump straight to a question many of you might be asking yourselves, which is, who is this guy and what's a libertarian and can he even win? Well, the answer to that is I'm Jack from Fargo, and the Libertarian Party is the fastest growing political party in America. And while our membership is rising in ranks, Republicans and Democrats is falling. And libertarians basically want less federal government and more individual freedom. And I think the government has way too much power. It spends way too much money. And as your congressman, I'm going to do everything I can to get the government out of your life.
All right, and coming up next is Representative Kevin Cramer.
Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Dick, George, and Jack. Great to be with both of you. And I just want to say right up front, thank you as well to the voters of North Dakota. First of all, for giving me this grand opportunity and privilege to serve you as the only member of the House of Representatives from North Dakota. And what that means, of course, is that I have 434 colleagues that wish they were me, that wish they could represent something as grand and great as I get to represent. I love debates. I've accepted every invitation to debate. I've done it as a challenger, I've done it in open seats, and now I'm doing it as an incumbent because I believe that there's a moral obligation that the member of the People's House has to confront people and to listen to people as they confront him. And confront your challengers in a way that is respectful, that is dignified, that digs into the issues, and that honors what the founders had in mind when they formed the People's House. So I look forward to a robust debate again tonight as well as others in the future. Again, I thank KFYR and our hosts tonight. A lot of issues on the table. We had a good year this year in the House of Representatives, passing a farm bill, passing a water bill, passing relief for flood insurance premiums, passing some very important budgetary acts that actually cut our budget now 3 years in a row. First time that we've cut real spending 3 years in a row since the Korean War. But a lot needs to be done in the future, including a highway bill and comprehensive tax reform. I look forward to discussing those and whatever's on your mind. Thank you.
All right, and State Senator George Sinner.
Good evening. I'd like to say I'm really glad to be here. I thank the KFYR for hosting. I thank the viewers for tuning in tonight. Also, I'd like to thank Kevin and Jack for agreeing to this debate. You know, first, before I get started, I'd just like to say, you know, I am not a great debater. Some of you probably realize that already, may have seen previous debates. I'm not a polished type of speaker. But if I thought this was a prerequisite for serving in Congress, I wouldn't do it. And honestly, I find it very difficult to shorten these complicated issues into 30-second answers and 30-second sound bites. You know, folks, I am not a lifetime politician. I have spent the last 35 years of my life working as a small-town banker, working with small business owners, family farms, and small families and young families, helping them find solutions to improve their lives. That's who I am, what I've done. Now, I believe that this race that I'm involved in, is really about honesty, integrity, and character. Tonight, you will hear from all these candidates about who they are and about the issues that they stand for. I look forward to discussing these issues and sharing my story with you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates, very much. Our first question this evening is from John Thompson of Washburn. He wants to know if you will work to repeal Obamacare, and if so, what would you replace it with?
You go first.
Regarding the Affordable Care Act, there are, and I will agree, there are many things in the Affordable Care Act that need to be fixed. And I promise that I will do my best to fix all the things that need to be fixed. And among those is the excess regulation that comes along. But there are some good things in the bill as well that allow students to stay on their, or young people to stay on their parents' plan to age 26, and it provides for people with pre-existing conditions to stay on the plan and get an affordable care. But the big thing for North Dakota is certainly the Frontier States Amendment. You know, our current congressman has voted over 60 times to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and not one mention of the Frontier States Amendment. For those of you who are not familiar with the Frontier States Amendment, it brought Medicaid and Medicare, it brought Medicare reimbursement up to the national standard. North Dakota was lagging so far behind that many of our hospitals were struggling with these payments that really got them, in many cases, causing financial need. That's why I have said all along, I will work to fix all of the problems in the Affordable Care Act, but I will not work to repeal it if the fix for the Frontier States Amendment is not part of that. I promise I will do my best to fix the things that are there, but I will always work to hold the Frontier States Amendment as part of that fix.
Representative Kramer.
Well, thanks for the question, John. It's an important one. You just heard George say he supports the Affordable Care Act. He can't even answer whether he would have voted for it in the first place, even after we have all the wisdom of 2020 vision. He also said that I voted to repeal it 60 times. Let's set the record straight. I voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act one time. One time. No, he's only off by 59, but I voted to repeal it one time. No, I didn't get 60 chances, or I might have, but I voted to repeal it one time. By the way, Congress is all about debating in 30, 60, 90-second sound bites. That's how much time you get on the floor when you debate an issue. It actually is a prerequisite if you're going to have influence in the House of Representatives. I'd work hard to fix Obamacare, to fix our health care system, by allowing purchasing of insurance across state lines, allowing a broader use, more use of medical savings accounts, restoring that relationship with the doctor, between the doctor and the patient, as opposed to the government and the patient. You know, Obamacare promised to create jobs. It's lost 2 million and growing. It promised to bring down premiums. Premiums have skyrocketed. It promised access to more doctors. It's actually provided less access to more doctors. It's taxed us to the point where our economy is jobless in its recovery, if there's a recovery at all. In fact, the medical device tax, which I voted to repeal, yes I did, I'm proud to say it and I'd do it again, the medical device tax has driven several dozen American medical device companies overseas, 47 alone, to the country of Colombia. We need to repeal it and we need to fix it.
Mr. Seaman.
Well, to answer the question, would I work to repeal Obamacare, the answer is yes, I would, and I would work very hard to do that. And to answer the second part of the question, which is what would you replace it with, I think Kevin and I have some of the same ideas on this question. You know, libertarians are all about a true free market, and that's what I would like to see come to the United States healthcare system. And what do you mean by a true free market? Well, I think the first step in that is allowing people to purchase any level of insurance coverage that they so choose from any company that's willing to offer it anywhere in the nation. You should have the freedom to control your own healthcare insurance decision policies. Furthermore, we should get the government out of our healthcare system, get rid of regulations and mandates that just delay our healthcare services, make our doctors go through endless amounts of paperwork just to try and comply with all the federal regulations that they have to put up with. And lastly, you know, we should be able to put aside at least $100,000 tax-free for use for emergencies, because healthcare should be about insurance for the big stuff and some money on hand for the small stuff, and that's the way it should work, not the mess that we currently have now.
All right, and first with the rebuttal is George Sinner.
Well, regarding Kevin's votes, let's just face it, all the newspapers have, maybe they're wrong, but the newspapers have reported, and I believe the The big newspaper in Fargo reported recently that Kevin voted over 60 times. But let's face it, I have said, and I have said consistently, that I will work to fix this bill. And if that means repeal it, I will repeal it. But I will not repeal it if it means getting rid of the Frontier States Amendment. The Frontier States Amendment brought $65 million a year to North Dakota. If you repeal it without that in that, somebody has to pay that cost, and it is going to be the consumers of North Dakota. That's why I've done it, and that's why, and I don't understand why either one of these other candidates have not talked about the Frontier States Amendment, how important it is to North Dakota.
Representative Kramer.
I find it amusing that George thinks the Fargo Forum counts really well when it comes to how many times they voted to repeal Obamacare, but doesn't seem to think they count votes so well when they take polls that show him far behind in the race. But you know, you pick and choose the statistics you want, I guess, that serve you best when you're desperate. We can do a lot better. High-risk pools, for example, that provide opportunity for people, much like we've done here in North Dakota. We can do a lot better with regard to reforming a tort system that punishes, that actually incents people to sue their doctors and with big rewards, and it makes it almost impossible, at very least very difficult for people in medicine. It drives up costs. We can do a lot better. We can repeal it, we can replace it, and if we can't do that, we need to fix it.
Mr. Seaman.
Some of you might have been asking, well, Jack, what do you mean by a true free market? Give me an example of something that you think is operating in a true free market setting. I'll give it to you. It's the Surgery Center of Oklahoma, and if you haven't heard about it, you have to look it up. This is a doctor-owned facility that's operating for the most part outside of the insurance business. They do a myriad of procedures, and their technology is top of the line. They accept cash or credit card, and they can do the procedures that most hospitals charge 10 times or more for. This place is accepting cash payments for, and their business is booming. Why? Because the government's out of the way. It's the consumer to the provider, and that's the way healthcare should be.
The U.S. House debate continues after the break, and coming up, we'll be talking energy.